is Jared Walker, and I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I've been in the child care system from the age of 11. I would just get a rush from being on the run. That I would get a natural high from it. Some people like speed, like racing and stuff like that. I would do it because when I was out, I wouldn't have any rules. I wouldn't have anybody to answer to. I could do what I want while I was out. Sometimes we would get upset and it just let off a little steam too also, just to get our own space. But also we used to do it because we wanted to feel normal, just like a normal child that lived with their parents who was able to go outside and play with their friends without being supervised. What I regret most about going AWOL, knowing now that there's a better way to go about dealing with how I'm feeling, or maybe expressing that, you know what, I want some time to myself out in the community. Is there some way that I can get an hour to myself without me getting in trouble for that? Can we plan for that? You know, coming up with some type of plan for it.
My name is Victoria Carroll and I'm from Philadelphia. What led me to come to Child First was I felt as though I wasn't being parented or really taken care of, so I went out to try and get things my own and wound up being in a human trafficking and then getting caught and arrested. And then since I was under the age of 18, I got into the Children's Detention Center, and that was like where it started at. There were several occasions where I went AWOL. Me being 17 years old, at that point any kids wants their freedom, I basically like pushed against everybody. It was like, I'm going here, I don't care what you say, I'm doing this, I'm basically an adult now. It was just like me feeling like I know what I need to do, don't tell me. There was occasions where I wanted to leave because I wanted to be closer to my sister. She was all at Penn State. I was like, okay, I want to live with her, I can do that. Or I just didn't want to be involved in the surroundings anymore. In my opinion, there are things they could have done differently, but then again, the staff members are like your parents. They're gonna tell you, no, you cannot do this, no, you cannot do that. And normal kids push boundaries, but you're a normal kid, but you're in a circumstance where you have to be monitored because your decision making isn't really practical, like it doesn't work out. So they're only trying to guide you. So it's like, you need help. Don't sit there and avoid the help, just take it.
There are many instances in which the former lifestyle of our children pulls them or draws them to leave and go back to what's familiar. And what we have to actually realize is that we have to give them, children, a reason not to want to go back to what might not be good and safe for them.
Most times the kids that are leaving are underage. So, you know, they can't just go stay in random people's homes. So the kids disguise that. They tell them that, you know, tell the parents or, you know, the guardians, I've been discharged from Child First, or they let me stay home on an extended stay, or, you know, different things like that. So the parents or guardians don't actually know that these kids are AWOLing.
Some of the reasons that kids AWOL is like boredom in the house, nothing to do. They feel like they can't relate to nobody in the house, or they just feel alone, or they'll have a situation where they'll get a phone call or something from social media that makes them want to leave and feel like they're missing out on something. Because it's a way that they get to communicate without staff being super vigilant of what they're saying and receiving from someone else.
What leads kids to AWOL is because sometimes they don't get home passes or they don't get visits or anything, so it provokes them, like their friends provoke them like to come out and everything. I mean, if you do get community time, you'll have to be back by a certain time, and some people, like once they already out, it's like to them, they don't want to go back home to where they're supposed to be.
They want to go see their family, they want to go to places like that, they want their freedom. Because if I want to go see somebody, if I'm going to do that and I'm stuck in the house all day, I can't do that. I'm 16 and we are teenagers. I just feel like we don't want to sit here all day, do nothing, just be on our phone all day. We just want to go out and have fun like regular teenagers should do. Everybody basically here should get community time. But if they could get less, at least for 3 hours or 4, because they want to get out, different trip options and stuff like that, and not just educational, it could be fun too.
I think somebody else would probably want to go AWOL because they not getting attention. Like they probably feel like the staff is more involved with the other kids or probably showing favoritism because it's just a lot of kids in one house. So like if you not get the attention that you need or that you feel entitled to, then you're not gonna want to be the attention no more. You're gonna want to go and go find the attention somewhere else. Or they probably getting bullied. Probably somebody messing with them, stealing their stuff. So who want to be somewhere where you got watch your stuff all the time? But that's not child first can control. That's something with the kids, and you can't control everybody.
One thing I know for me and probably 10 other million kids that's in the group home system, they don't care about write-ups. Okay, you could antagonize me like, oh, I'm gonna give you a write-up, or you're not gonna go see your family, or you're not going home this weekend. You gotta think about, we think about this as, you're not my parent. You're literally just a person who's doing their job. Now I'm gonna make your job difficult. Because if I'm going, you gotta do more paperwork. Honestly, I just feel like the staff become more loving and more caring and actually talk to the residents. They will understand what's going on.
My name is Kaleem and I'm 21 years old. Stress was what made me AWOL sometimes. I'm not really the type of person to get mad, but when I get mad, I need space. So I was always in the house sometimes. People would be fighting or I wouldn't be able to get to do something that I didn't want to do. Or like I was arguing with the staff, so sometimes I would take a walk. You're not really supposed to take walks. You're not supposed to leave the campus and go hang out with some friends and clear my mind. And I would come back a couple hours later. It was somewhere that I wanted to be rather than be cooped up in the house. Sometimes I would AWOL and it would stop the house from going out on activities. So that would just make the house mad, which would make me mad again, which would make me want to do it again. So I thought I was helping myself, but I was hurting everyone else around me at the same time. So that's what I regret, hurting everyone else. From the knowledge that I know now and the advice that I would give somebody is you can create yourself a new life here as long as you're doing what you gotta do. Because if you AWOL and you go back to all the drama, the drugs, the violence, there's only 2 ways out of that, death or jail. And I don't think you would want that.
My name is Tiny and I'm 20 years old. Reasons why I wanted to AWOL was because I wanted to spend time with my mom. I wanted to see my mom and my friends. I wanted to be a kid. I wanted to not listen, not follow directions. When I went AWOL, all my friends would be at school. And I would be the only one staying home trying to hide out because I didn't want to get caught, worried about who's gonna come get me, who's not gonna come get me, how I'm gonna eat, how am I gonna wash up. I upset my mom, I disappointed her. That's one of the things I didn't want to do. But my decision on AWOLing, I wouldn't say that I made a bad choice of leaving, yes. But I learned from moving further. I was out of my environment, so I learned new things. You get a roof over your head and you get food every single day. You get clothes, anything that you need. All you have to do is go to school. Your friends and your family can always be waiting for you, but you'll never get a second chance in education.
Before I came into a group home, I was with a foster parent, and she kept on beating on me, so one day I actually ended up hitting her back, and they sent me to the CRC for 8 days, and they didn't have anywhere for me to go, so they sent me to Heritage House. My first time I ever went AWOL was the first time they sent me to the group home, because my worker kept on telling me that as soon as they found a placement for me, I would be able to leave, and they found 2 placements for me, but I never left. I was upset because I really wanted to be home with my family. So I had AWOL. I ran up the street so that my aunt could come get me, and she did end up coming to get me. But then my worker had brought me back. It hurted me because now I probably would have been able to go home, but the fact that I was AWOLing, it made me stay, and my judge wasn't liking the fact that I kept on leaving. It could help us from going AWOL by like sitting down and talking to us, telling us that we could be able to go home sooner or later as long as we don't let little things bother us.
Going home is an opportunity that children want, and it's important for us to identify when it's not a safe environment for young people to go back, and look at the situation in total and provide them with the opportunity to do so when it's best for them.
Talk to them often, find out where their head is, look for some of the signs of them actually wanting to leave, and just making sure that they're in a space where they feel as though that they're wanted. I find that if they feel like they're in a caring, loving space and environment, that can usually prevent them from going AWOL, because they find that it's a place for them there, that they're welcome there.
And we should always be looking at our kids to say, we understand that you may be at high risk for AWOLing, and what can we do to try to engage you so that you're not exercising that choice to leave without approval.
Most importantly for me, doing this whole thing is just for anybody who's watching this to understand that you are someone that's foreign to you, and maybe the people are foreign to you, but use the resources that you have, because the government, the state gives them things for you specifically that other people who may be in the same situation but aren't in the care of the system will not have. Because a therapist is very expensive and psychiatrists are very expensive. So there's really no excuses when you're in the system, when you have things allotted to you, and time and money and people, therapists and psychiatrists, and use these people so that when you graduate, you can start off with a good slate and you're not like still dealing with a lot of these issues. And going AWOL, you just opening up a door for something really stupid to happen. I mean, I've been there, I've seen it happen. Good people get caught up in some really bad things, and now it's a lot worse than just being in a group home or foster care or wherever.
Some of the ways that we work together to prevent runs are to keep the children active, to engage with the family of the child, especially if we know that the family has a very heavy influence on the child. So we try to find creative ways to bring them together so that they don't have to run and so that they choose not to run. We have very transparent, open and honest conversations with our youth so that when a child is able to return home, that they can be on a better pathway as well.
And it's just paying attention, using our models, and being consistent also, the repeating of it over and over and over. Eventually they'll be like, they'll just get it. It just comes naturally for them.
Knowing the moods, the mood changes, knowing what's going on with them personally. School, what may be going on at home, any losses, any gains. All of those things are components for the urge to AWOL. So I think the more you know about that person, the more you can then find a model and a way to help them combat the feelings that they're having.